It's interesting, isn't it? There's almost a movement at the moment with Techbio and computational biology and AI. And we've seen a lot of biotechs looking to look how they can actually bring that technology on board and their expertise. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think the explosion of new computational technologies has just opened up so many possibilities. And as a traditional drug developer or even a biotech startup, it's really hard to figure out, where do I get started? Which of these new technologies do I adopt? And so there's been a new wave of companies formed, the tech bio companies, where they're technology first. They've developed the tools or the underlying technology, and they can apply them in a variety of settings. Rather than saying I'm developing a single molecule to target this specific disease and I have to select a technology. They say, I'm developing a technology that could be widely applicable, and I have to either myself select the biological applications or work with other academics or industry partners to figure out where do I apply this technology.
Nice. And when it comes to leadership, how have you managed that?
Yeah, so a lot of learning, really good advisors and role models and other kind of startup founders or even mature company CEOs to help mentor. But I think the thing that I've seen that's really key in leadership is that you have to put people in a position to succeed. And so when you're hiring people or nurturing their careers, you have to make sure that the role that you have and even the work setting that you have, we're a small startup, so it's very dynamic. It has to fit their personality and their career goals.
And do you like to hire skill set or soft skills or a bit of both?
It's evolved a lot. It's a really good question. At first I thought, it was resume and skill set, and you have this list of kind of skills and you go through and see how many check marks someone has, and that's how you find the best candidate. But I learned that, the real differentiator is someone who has a passion, can learn, and really will thrive in the setting that you're offering. And so, we have a variety of people, a lot with very heavy technical backgrounds and less of a biology background. So we have a mathematics PhD who's thriving, a physics PhD who's our director of R&D. They don't have a biology background or a medical background, but they're really smart people who are very attracted to the technology, and they work with our biologists to be able to figure out how do I apply these computational skills to the problems at hand. And that's worked really well.
And when you're sifting through resumes, looking at bringing the best people on, I can imagine that in an academic setting, it's slightly more safe. Yeah. So how do you kind of understand and qualify whether or not they're going to be a good fit and be able to take that plunge into the tech bio space?
Yeah, that's a great question, because in the academic setting, it's very narrow. Someone wants to apply for a PhD or for this role, and there's only a small, it seems like there's a broad range of people, but it's really a sliver once you get into the real world. I think the challenge is sometimes you get resumes from all of these different backgrounds, and you have to figure out, is this someone who is really talented and passionate and has all the soft skills and they're going to thrive? Or is this someone who really won't fit in the role? And it's been a learning experience. It's been seeing, how do people respond during interviews when they meet the team? But there's really no magic bullet. And sometimes it helps to have a partner who can tell you, who's done this many times before and can tell you, I've seen this person, this type of person succeed in this role before.
And sometimes it's not even necessarily a negative connotation on the person. They're just not necessarily aligned with the culture that you're trying to create.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. We have a talk we give a couple of times a year where we have 3 different people. There's the academic, the startup, and then the big industry worker. And there's no judgment on which one of these people you are. It just is the recognition that there are different roles and different people out there, and you have to find the right archetype, the right personality for the role you have. If you want to work at a startup, you're going to have to be okay with change and dynamism. If you want a really well-defined role and making a small contribution to a bigger company, that's great too, but it's not the startup life.
There's tells and signs in my industry to kind of indicate whether or not they're going to be suited to that dynamic culture. Things like being very fixated on job title.
Yes.
You know, a real fixation on the job description and going through every single task. I know that if those questions are coming, then I'll have a realistic conversation around, do you understand what happens in this sort of early stage environment? There's challenges there, and these are the reasons why. So it's interesting you said that, and it kind of alludes to that point.
Well, it's funny you say that, Lawrence, because if I had you with me in the very early stages, it would have really helped out a lot. But I think that's exactly right, is that people who want that really narrow, defined role, it's hard at a startup because it changes, if not weekly, sometimes daily, what you're doing. And it's very mission driven, and you have to be excited by either the problems or the underlying, biological application, something that really drives you, as opposed to the title or getting satisfied with the individual job tasks.
And in the tech bio space, whereas with biotech, there's a fairly obvious pathway to where things go, next steps, whether it's out licensing and licensing, an acquisition or something of that nature. What's the vision for you?
Yeah, for tech bio, it's less defined because it's a newer field.
Yeah, which makes it fascinating, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting part is there is, M&A activity. However, many of these companies are early and thriving, and we don't know who the natural acquirers would be for them. Is it large pharma? Is it big tech? And so...
is it both?
Yeah, is it both? Yeah, will they merge? So the answer is, I don't know, and I don't think anyone else does. Yeah. It's early days, and it's really exciting.
Are you seeing any of the big pharmas trending in that direction yet, or is that bubbling?
Yeah, so the big pharmas are definitely collaborating quite frequently with tech bio companies, and so whether they will ultimately ingest them and say this is so core to our company that we need to acquire this company, the startup, I don't know, but I know that they are very interested in working, and it's hard to build some of these skill sets or technologies in-house.
Yeah.
And so they partner quite a bit in our space.
Yeah. It only takes one, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then the snowball starts rolling.
Right.
It's like London bus syndrome. You wait for a bus, none come, and all of a sudden 4 come at once. I've always felt like it's the same with big pharma and acquisition activity.
That's right. There's the, follow on of like, oh, if it's a good idea for, one big pharma, it must be a good idea for me too.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the same with investors, I find as well. Like
it is.
The portfolio. I remember radiopharmaceuticals was like that. All of us, 1 minute no one knew about it in oncology. The next thing everyone was jumping in, and hopefully it'll be the same in the tech bio space.
Yeah. Yeah. Tech bio is interesting because there are different points along the drug development spectrum that these companies are being developed. And really the first and most successful is in design of molecules using AI. And so that's one where every VC in the space has to have their own, portco who does that. And that's where there's been the most big pharma activity. We're towards the other end of the spectrum, which is that you already have your molecule and you're trying to figure out how does this actually work in tissue when I test it in animals or humans in clinical trials. And so that's a place where we think, the tech bio space and AI is kind of just scratching the surface. It's very early days, but there's tons of potential because if you listen to panels on AI in drug development, what people can say now is we've spent enough time to know that AI works great, but if you focus very narrowly, say in designing a better molecule, you're not going to solve all your problems with AI. There's still so many other steps in the drug development process, especially clinical trials, that you've it's like a, traffic where you've accelerated to a stoplight, but then you have so many other barriers ahead of you that it just makes you go faster to that first red light. And so finding that comprehensive solution, people have spoken about it, but it still hasn't been attained yet. And so that's where, the question is it just a series of technologies you string together, or is it some overarching AI that's going to completely speed up drug development?
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's the patients and caregivers that are going to really benefit from this.
That's right. Yeah. And it's much needed because when you look at R&D costs per drug, everything you read, is $2 billion.
9 out of 10, yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work anymore because we've gotten all of the low-hanging fruit. And so if you need to, find new therapies for patients who need it, you have to have new technology.